Morning, everybody. To find the right link.
You're good. You got double mute or triple mute going on over there, Rick?
No, are you hearing me or no?
Oh, we hear you. We hear you.
Okay, got it. Yeah, we
So
had some link issues, but I think we got that squared away, so should all be good.
good deal. So I got a few people that are still trickling in, so I'll continue to let people in. But again, welcome everybody. Thank you for being here today. I know that we just finished our annual enrollment season, and obviously to those of you that were involved in the Medicare and what we accomplished as an organization this year, thank you for your efforts. It was impressive. I think the final numbers are coming in around 56,000 total Medicare Advantage applications for the entire country. And I know a lot of you wrote a lot of those apps. So well done. I think we'll have certainly time to celebrate that on an individual team basis as we kind of move a little bit deeper towards the holidays. Obviously, we've got just a couple of days left here before the end of the open enrollment period, or at least the first round, right? December 15th. And then we got some cleanup the 30 days after that. So I just want to encourage everybody to continue to focus on helping as many consumers as we can. I know live transfer numbers are through the roof. So, continue to participate in that. I want to again, though, just introduce Cliff Karthauser. As many of you know, Cliff has worked with us now for several years, has become a really important part of the organization. He's doing a lot of different things on a one-off basis with different leaders in the organization and running different study groups and things. And so we're actually embarking on a two-part journey here. And Cliff is going to be focusing on building your personal brand with authority and with influence. And Rick and I had both commented on the fact that this is, I think a very good time of year to be thinking about what it means to build your personal brand and what that, what things are going to look like for next year. I know many of us are already in the planning phase for what are we going to do next year and how are we going to expand our bandwidth and how are we going to drill deeper in the communities that we serve on a local basis. I will tell you, between Rick's team and our team, we are two of the best teams in the nation when it comes to building that personal brand and drilling deep in our communities. I think, both of these teams have really led from the front nationally on that. And so, Cliff, I appreciate you being with us again. Before I jump in, Rick, was there anything else you wanted to mention or say before we turn things over to Cliff?
No, I think the key is exactly what Silas said. We've got 5 days left to really make an impact here for 1/1 effectives, but we're not done then. Then we got another month to be able to help people. But these next 5 days are going to be critical, and make sure that you help people all the way through. Don't just take care of the healthcare. Make sure that we take care of putting a complete package together for them. And I think we're going to have a great OEP as well.
Agreed. So with that, Cliff, I'm going to turn things over to you. Thank you again for being with us today. For those of you, hopefully you all got the study guide in hand for what Cliff had put together. And then, like I said, we'll be sending out the recording afterwards as well. So I'm going to go mute and the floor is yours, my friend.
Awesome, buddy. Thank you. And it's an honor and privilege always to be with you. And I think these sessions are, at least I hope they're better live. And I know Silas records and Rick, they send it out to other team members. But again, I'd like to encourage you to invite someone that maybe has not been a part of this. We want to really try to get the numbers up. And I get it. You're really busy. It's a stressful period as you roll through open enrollment and kind of wind down. But next month, if you could encourage someone that has not been a part of this to jump on the call, I know Rick would appreciate that and Silas would appreciate that. So again, thanks. I hope you've all had a very, very profitable, successful, you've reached a lot of people over the last 4 to 5 weeks and you got a little bit more work to be done. So I'm going to give you a quick commercial for what's to come on January 8th, which will be the next time we'll be together. We're going to cover the last 4 parts of the handout. So I'm going to talk a lot about what's the difference between a marketing and a media mindset on January 8th. I'm going to talk about lead generation. I'm going to talk about retention and referrals. And I'm going to talk about measuring success. So that's the second part of this 2-part series. I'm also going to give you a quick commercial on what's to come February 12th, which is the second Wednesday. We always meet from noon to 1 Eastern time, the second Wednesday of each month. So if you block your calendar, I'm going to introduce you to, and it'll be a great time for this because you'll be kind of wrapping up your year. You'll be getting ready to start your new health market year, recognition year, which will begin March 1st. And I'm going to introduce you to a goal setting and an accountability tool that will help you have a business breakthrough in 2025. And I want you to really embrace and think about your business as a 12-month business. I know it's heightened during this period of time, but it's not a 2-month business. It's not a 2.5-month business. It's a 12-month business. So what will it take to have a business breakthrough, to have your best year ever in 2025? I'm going to introduce you to a tool. If you use it, I'll guarantee you'll have great success next year. We're going to get into today's lesson. But before I do that, I'm going to give you 4 questions that I want you to think about and spend some time on as you wrap up this really busy period of time. So not today, not this week, but as you get into the holidays and you slow down just a little bit to kind of rest, to reset, and to reflect, the first 2 questions are 10,000 feet questions. The first one is, what are you most proud of? What are you most proud of? And again, you don't have to write your answer down now, but I want you to think about that question. What are you most proud of? Question 2, if this 5 years was a chapter in your life, what would this chapter be called? If this 5 years was a chapter in your life, what would this chapter be called? Those are kind of 10,000-foot questions. I just kind of came up with these 4 questions in the last couple of days. The last 2 are a little bit deeper. So we're going to bring it down, the altitude down a little bit. And question 3 is, if we met a year from now, what would we be celebrating? If we met a year from now, what would we be celebrating? And the second deeper question is, what is the gift you currently hold in exile? What is the gift you currently hold in exile? In other words, what talent do you have you're not using? What talent do you have that you're not using? So I want you to think about those questions, and maybe I'll call on one or two of you next month. Okay, let's roll today. Building your personal brand based on authority and influence. It doesn't happen overnight, does it? Building your personal brand based on authority and influence. Authority occurs. So when you think about someone that has authority, you view them as an authority figure. Authority occurs. When does that occur? Well, it occurs when you take the right steps to combine, stand out, trustworthy expertise, because that's what authority is, with a kind of high visibility you might often associate with a celebrity. Now, I'm not talking about someone in the entertainment field that a Beyonce or a Taylor Swift or somebody in the sports field that we all know, a household name. What I'm talking about here is the kind of high impact visibility and third-party credibility that causes you to be viewed as an expert in your field. What does that take for your prospects, for your customers to really view you as an expert in your field? Now, everyone understands, we all understand the value of having a visible, respected corporate brand. And you have a visible, respected corporate brand. But few people understand the power of a personal brand. And you need to work on building your personal brand in your respective market. And why do I say that? Why do I think that's so important? Because against the backdrop of a marketplace that is increasingly skeptical, you think about the general population, and the general population is increasingly skeptical of large corporate brands. They hold them at arm's length. Your personal brand and expertise, what does that do? So let's bring it down to your personal brand. What does that really do? Your brand and your expertise, what does that do? It accelerates the speed of trust and it will completely change the dynamics of the appointment that you set with your prospect or with your customer. It absolutely, so this, you think about the single most valuable benefit to becoming an authority is accelerating the speed of trust. So when your prospects and your customers, they view you as an expert in your field, that you're knowledgeable, they view you as an authority, what is that going to do? It's going to accelerate the speed of trust they have in working with you. And when you do, you're not seen as someone that's just what? Trying to sell them a product, push something down their throat. You're not just selling a product. What are you doing? Instead, you're teaching. You're viewed as someone that has knowledge, because knowledge is power. And so they view you as someone that has expertise, that has the opportunity to teach them, because they have a lot of questions. They don't understand. This is complex, the stuff that you deal with. The average person doesn't understand. They wouldn't understand the difference between a Medicare Advantage plan and just the regular Medicare. I mean, there's a lot of confusion. And so what happens is that speed of trust, you being viewed as an expert, you being viewed as an authority, it helps establish your credibility before you ever sit down with them. I mean, think about the power of that, Dan. Before you ever sit down with someone, they're viewing you as someone that has authority, expertise, credibility. What are they more willing to do when they view you that way? They're more willing to take your recommendations. And what does that do? What does that do? It reduces the sales cycle. So if your prospects view you as an expert, as an authority that's influential, number one, it's going to accelerate the speed of trust. You've already got some credibility in their mind. And what will that do? It will reduce the sales cycle. Anybody have any thought on that? Would you agree? Dan, would you agree that if you're viewed as someone that has expertise, you're going to be able to shorten that sales cycle, right? So instead of 2 or 3 or 4 appointments or meetings, it's going to shorten that. Any thought on that?
Can you hear me, Cliff?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's vitally important. Our referral source is probably our number one marketing tool that we use.
Right.
And anybody that comes in from a referral, it really is most times a 1, if not 2 appointment close.
Yeah.
The only reason it's pushed to a second time is we're still working on getting their Medicare card in place.
Right. And you're viewed that way. If one of your best clients refers you to someone else, you're borrowing the trust that those two people have. And so that trust it's transferable. And so if you have a great client relationship and your great client refers you to someone else, that trust is transferable right to you. So again, it accelerates that influence or that expertise because of that endorsement. Silas, you have a thought on that? I mean, does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely it does. And I think about it not just from a client referral perspective, but these centers of influence that we've been cultivating and grooming. I know, many of the agents in our territory, and I know in Rick's too, are partnering with financial planners and CPAs and attorneys. And, one of the things I've tried to do over the last number of years is maintain a center of influence list. We send them Christmas cards. We send them quarterly, emails. We want to position ourselves as experts with them, because when somebody comes to us and they have been referred by their financial planner, their CPA, or their attorney, there's just a different level of understanding and context and appreciation for who we are and what we do. And it greases the wheels on everything we have to do, because they're listening and they trust us right out of the gate. So
Yeah.
100% agree with you.
That's awesome. When you think about authority and expertise, it doesn't just happen, does it? We're not going to be an authority or an expert. We're not going to be viewed that way our first few months in the business. But over time, what do we need to do to build our brand? To have a brand that people view that's influential, where you're viewed as an expert. Well, it doesn't just happen overnight. You have to have a process. of systematically positioning you as the leader and expert in your industry or in your community or in your market. It doesn't happen overnight, but what can you be doing if you're newer, if you're in your first year, as an example, what can you be doing to start to build your brand? Because over time, your brand will precede you in your market. When they need something that you have to offer, your name, you want your name to rise to the top of the page, because that's going to give you influence and it's going to give you an edge on your competition. So that strategic process, what does that mean? Well, it's creating a deliberate plan or a blueprint that's implemented over time. It's consistency of implementing your plan or blueprint over time, because it's only through that deliberate intention and disciplined action that real influence and authority can be gained. It doesn't happen overnight. It's a process that you have to go through. So systematic positioning is all about getting the biggest return, because sometimes we got to spend some money. We got to market, to billboard, the things that a lot of you are doing. You want the biggest return on the investment that you're making, and the credibility that comes with national media is important, and you get that because United Healthcare, health markets. I've seen ads. I've seen 100 ads over the last month between United Healthcare and health markets. And so I reside in Omaha about half the year or so, and then in Phoenix. And I've seen actual health markets ads on TV, both in Omaha and in Phoenix. We're back in Omaha now for the holidays, but in both markets. So it's not just United Healthcare, it's health markets. And so it's important that you have national media exposure, but really it's the local media that will have the biggest direct impact on your personal brand. The things that you're doing in your local market. And I know your teams, I know Rick's team, I know Silas, you're doing a lot geographically within your markets. Now, some of you, I'm sure, are licensed in 20 states and whatnot, but I know the people I'm talking to here do a better job probably than anybody in the country going deep within your geographical territory. And that's how you build a brand, based on influence and authority. I'm just not sure how you do that in 40, 20, 30, 40 states. It's more difficult. You want to go as deep as you possibly can. But it's more than just brand recognition, because that's really important. You don't just want your prospects to know the name of your business. You want them to see you or to hear your name and say, you know what? I've been hearing a lot about that person. They drive around the community that you're in and they see a billboard. All the things that you're doing to extend and deepen that brand. Is Ronnie on the call today or in the meeting? I know you're doing a ton. Well, there you are. I know you're doing a ton of advertising, local presence. So when people, you don't want them just to hear your name or to see something. You want them to hear your name and say, hey, I've been hearing a lot about Ronnie Bell. I mean, you have any thoughts on what I just shared there?
Yes, I think you have to have the layering, and that always helps. So people will say, oh, my sister recommended you, but I happened to see you in Valpak, or I think that's, I saw it, somebody else told me I should call you, and then I also saw it in a Mimi magazine.
Yeah.
So it's always, or I saw you in the church bulletin or the other places that we market. So it's hard now when we ask people how they heard about me to scale down where did they hear about me from, because it's always multiple places.
Which is awesome, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's just reaffirming that, some people think it's a divine intervention that they, heard me, and then their neighbor happens to be the one like, oh, you should go to my person. And then it's also me.
Right.
So they think it's divine intervention for some reason, but that happens a lot.
Yeah.
But it is that layering. I mean, if you're not getting, today I've had 3 appointments already. They were all referrals, but I mean, if you're not getting the sisters, brothers, wives, ex-husbands, everybody on the street, like I feel like I should go to block parties. I'll look at that address and think, geez, I've got a ton of people on that street. Yeah, so I should be invited to block parties, family reunions,
Yeah.
all of those things, because you do end up with this huge referral train if you're treating them right.
Absolutely. Now, when you go to those block parties and those pick all those sorts of things, do you take Rick or do you leave him home?
No, I leave them home. Someone's got
You
to
leave
watch
him home.
my little girl over here. Someone's got to take care of her.
Oh yeah. Well, I tell you what, I've got one right here. She's in on the chair.
Oh, she's cute.
Yeah, she's my buddy. But it's so true, those touch points, because it's repetition of messaging. Whether it's a church bulletin, a school billboard, halftime of a high school football game. I'm speaking to the choir here because you go deep within your geographical markets. And that,
Absolutely.
nothing wrong with taking a live transfer in Fort Worth, Texas, but it's harder to build a deep personal brand in 20 states and doing business and I'm not saying don't do that, but really focus on inside out when it comes to marketing and media. Start where local and build it out from there. Because you're competing in a marketplace, an industry, in a community. And so coming out on top, it's all about the influence you have over and above your competition that's going to move them towards your services. So it's repetition of messaging. It's about affinity. And what does affinity mean? Well, affinity means compatibility and rapport. And what does that do? It equals trust. It's about affinity, which equals trust, which helps attract potential prospects and customers rather than you needing to go out and sell yourself to them one at a time. And that's huge. You're attracting a wider audience because it's hard to find your prospects one at a time, one at a time. And so what does that affinity do? You build rapport, you build compatibility, and that really equals the trust that you're trying to do. And so why is your personal brand so important? Why is it so important? Because in our current digital environment, think about this. I didn't grow up in the world that you're all, when I was doing what you're doing 24/7 in building a business and building a territory, a lot of the things that you're all exposed to now, I wasn't exposed to back then. The digital presence, so your personal brand, the current digital environment is so powerful. The first impression most people have of you and your brand, it's not going to happen in person. It's not even going to happen over the phone. Where's it going to happen? It's going to happen online, via page one of Google or your website or LinkedIn or Facebook, all the social media. Their first impression, many, many times, is going to happen before they even see you or engage with you. I'm
Well,
going to
I
stop
had an
there.
interesting one that somebody came to me because I was recommended multiple times on the special needs kids that are on Medicare, Medicaid.
Yes.
So you end up being the go-to person on these really niche markets when you help them, because I've just helped a lot of people whose kids are special needs. Um, so sometimes it even comes from doctors themselves. I had a doctor call saying they had to get their patient in to see me because the doctors know that I help a lot of people. So a lot of these things that are local, when you go deep in your market, you're getting referrals from, even though they're not supposed to, the Social Security office and the doctors directly and the pharmacies and the other needs that, special needs places that help. So
Yeah.
it's interesting where those paths actually lead when you go really deep in your community.
It's huge. I mean, the first impression people had of me was when I called on them or when I sit down to conduct a meeting with them. Because I'm going back a few years now. And I think today, many, many times that first impression isn't when they walk into your office and shake your hand, or when you engage in that virtual meeting, or when you conduct that initial phone interview or whatever it may be. That first impression precedes all that. I'd love to get your thought. Anybody else have a thought on that? Do you agree with Gary? Do you agree with that?
Cliff, you always wait till I put something in my mouth.
It is lunchtime where you are.
I know. I was just gonna ask Ronnie if she's licensed in Michigan because I turn 65 next summer. And I want the best agent in the country to help me.
She'll take care of you.
You can take care of yourself. You're the best agent over there.
No, it is interesting how, Ronnie was saying about the multiple touches. This is the first year I've ever helped 3 generations of families. I've got the kids, the parents, and the grandparents. So it's kind of cool when you get those layers of generations. And I've also had that where we give kind of a token gift for a referral. And I've had people come in and say, all right, I got to tell you, these 5 people referred you to me, so they want their Lolo gift. So it is kind of cool when you got the different touch points. And referrals doesn't, like you said, doesn't happen overnight. I liken it to farming. You have to plant it, you have to cultivate it, you have to fertilize it, and it'll happen.
Yeah.
Internet leads are like hunting. You go out, you kill, you bring it home and you eat it. But overall, the best thing you can ever do is to cultivate a referral-based business.
Yeah. And again, I'm speaking to the choir because you all do that so well. What are your thoughts? And maybe I could call on Derek or Aaron Fields or some of the younger crowd, but I think in this digital age and the speed of change with technology and everything, I think many times our brand is in large part what Google says it is, especially for the younger generations of people. So when people meet you or speak with you on the phone, we should expect in many times that their first impression, most likely, it's already been established. I mean, think about I mean, and so I'm going to call on Derek in a second here, but think about that because that really makes owning your brand and making sure it's consistent with the value you bring to the table. How critical is that? If they're making an initial impression based on digital or what Google says, how important is it to make sure that the brand you want to cast and the value that you want to portray matches up to that first impression when they start to search you out? Derek, you have a thought on that? I mean, do you agree?
No,
think
I
many-
totally, yeah, Cliff. No, I totally agree. And it's not only the younger people that are doing that. I mean, I get referrals every week from somebody who just did something like basic, like a Google search. Even for instance, I have an interview tomorrow with a potential agent. The first thing I do is I search for that person online. I'm looking at their
Sure.
Facebook, I'm looking at their LinkedIn page. I'm really trying to get as much, information to see how well that fit would be going into it. Especially, like Facebook, for instance, I feel like more of the people who are using that now are probably that, 55 to 65-year-old range than it has been before. My mother-in-law reshares every single post that I've ever had with health markets. So no, just building that brand and just building that even just sense of security when somebody comes in here where they know, hey, I got 40, 50 Google reviews that are all good, and all my Facebook reviews are, 5 stars. It really just kind of helps them just have a better feeling about working with me and with my company.
Sure. And thanks for those comments because I 100% agree. But if you think about somebody that's going to search you out, whether that's LinkedIn, whether that's Google, how many reviews do you have, all those sorts of things. So there's some impression they have, not always, but many times before you engage with them. And so now, well, let's take it a step further. So now you've had an opportunity to sit down with someone or engage in a virtual meeting, or maybe it's over the phone. How important during that initial, because they've already have some idea, they've started to form an idea about you. How critically important is your value proposition and how you articulate it once you're in that first appointment? I mean,
Yeah,
that is
I
so
think that, I tell my clients I want to make this process easy on them. Insurance can be confusing. You're most likely coming to me because, you can't do this on your own.
Yeah.
Our clients could pay the same whether they figure this out on, Medicare.gov or healthcare.gov, or using somebody like me.
Right.
So I just try to help them and I want to build the best experience that I can. So I pretty much do nothing over the phone or virtually. I want somebody to come into my office, see the nice space that we have, know that, hey, when they have a question, a lot of people don't like to do things over the phone or virtually, especially with Medicare, where, it's probably 80% of my business is Medicare. So having like a landing spot where they can come in, ask questions, if they need to pick up a brochure or some documents. So I love having them come into my office and kind of just have that, really just kind of helps my credibility, being that we have a nice space here for them to come in.
Right. And I don't know if it's true in most cases, but in many cases, when they're calling an 800 number to get the services or to get their questions answered as it comes to all the things that you do, sometimes the image that they have in their mind is they're dealing with a call center. Not always, but many, many times. And so there's a huge difference when they can drive across town and walk into your office and sit down in your conference room. And I know you can't always do it that way. I'm not saying conduct 100% of your appointments in person, but we're talking about establishing a brand, going deeper, having authority, and you want to build that inside out within as close a proximity to where you live and reside and go to church as possible, in my opinion. And there's others that would maybe disagree with that. But the value proposition is so critically important, especially for those of you who haven't been doing this for a long period of time. How you articulate your value in the differentiation in how you articulate that to that prospect is so powerful. And always remember, what do people hold on to? Now, for a while, they hold on uh, to what you do. They understand that you're an agent, that you represent health, et cetera. They hold on for a while what you say, but they hold on forever to how you made them feel. So how are you making that prospect or that customer feel during that initial engagement? And part of that's the value proposition. And so by definition, what is branding? What is branding? If you boil it down to its most simplistic form, here's what branding is. It's creating an image in the mind of your audience. That's what branding is. It's creating an image in the mind of your audience. And so businesses or people, I mean, think about this. It makes sense. Businesses or people that we've never heard of, that, they don't have a brand with us. So if I haven't heard of Gary or his business, I have no image in my mind of Gary or his business because I've never heard of him. So there's really no image created in my mind. So what do we want to do through branding? We want to create an image in the mind of our prospect or in the mind of our customer. So here's a really, really important question to ponder and to answer. Do you know what image comes to mind when your customers think of you or hear your name? Now, these are customers. Do you know? Do you know what image comes to mind when your customers think of you and hear your name? Here's an even deeper question. What about the people who have never heard of you before? How do you build a brand with them in the age of digital first impressions? Because there's there's a lot of people that have heard of Ronnie and Gary because they've been doing this a long time. But for many of you, and for them as well, there's a heck of a lot of people that have never heard of them. And so we don't have a brand with those people yet. So what can we be doing to build a brand with people that have never heard of us? Well, that's the $6 million question. If we can get that done, there'll be people standing up, lined up to see you. Well, there's two phases. I think it's in your handout, but there's two phases. I don't have your handout in front of me, but I think there's two phases to creating a personal brand. And so phase one is creating an image in your prospect's mind. And so the first phase, think about the first phase, is what a prospect sees prior to any direct interaction with you or your team. So if they haven't met you, they haven't talked to you, it could be they drive by, they see a billboard, they see a flyer that's stuffed into a valve pack, but there's some impression before they've seen you, they've met you, that image that comes to mind before they have any direct interaction with you. Now, with that person, you don't have a brand yet, do you? Because there's no image that comes to mind. And so in this phase, your brand is what Google says it is. So it's creating an initial image without any direct interaction with you. So here's what you want to do. You want to create a phase one image that clearly presents you as an expert with a differentiated mission-driven message. So when they go online to LinkedIn, what is your mission-driven message? You know, if they pop into your website, what are they seeing? Because again, they have no direct interaction with you yet. So how do we create a phase one image before they've had any direct interaction? Well, it's what they're seeing. You know, what's your messaging? That's going to encourage it, because if it's positive, if it's mission driven, if they like what they're seeing, what's that going to do? It's going to encourage them to take the next step. It's going to encourage them to take the next step to learn more. And then phase two, that's the image that's created as a direct result of interacting with you. Now they've had that initial meeting or that initial interaction, that direct interaction. And so what does that do? Well, that connects back to the experience your prospect or customer had in doing business with you. What's my value proposition? Is it differentiated? Am I answering am I gaining rapport? Am I building affinity, which is compatibility? All those things are going to start to occur after that first interaction, that face-to-face or whatever. That's going to encourage your prospect to take the next step, to sit down, to have a meeting, all of those sorts of things. And what does that do? That experience they have during that initial meeting, it's going to enhance the opportunity you have to what? To build advocacy, to gain referrals. It's critically important. And so I'm going to get deeper into referrals and the questions you ask next time, but we have to be able to wrap our minds around not only phase one, but phase two. So I'm gonna call on Kevin, Kevin Bush. You're a younger guy. I'm not sure how long you've been doing this. Um, how long you been doing this, Kevin?
All right, so I've been like kind of like as an agent assistant, so just as a regular AA for the first like 3 years or so, and I've
Okay.
only been like a actual sub agent for like this year pretty much
Okay.
since
Okay.
April.
Well, you're younger. You probably have expertise using technology and social media. I know you do. I can see it. I mean, I can see it in your eye.
I got glasses.
Is this making sense? I mean, does this make sense?
Yeah,
Making sense to you?
absolutely.
Yeah. What thoughts come to mind is I talk about what I've talked about so far, whether it's phase one, whether it's phase two, because we've got to be able to master both phases, right?
Right, absolutely. Yeah, so I mean, like I would say that, when you're we have that initial interaction with a customer, whether it's a client or someone who's new, right? And like this idea of now having to match the brand and everything, and kind of be able to do the complete, the full cycle, this full
Right.
cycle. It gets at first, when you're first doing it, it gets really overwhelming at first, because you're just thinking, okay, well, how do I give a similar experience the way that, like Joni would do? Because I'm actually I work for her. So I'm like trying to always think of, okay, how does she interact? How can I kind of match the overall brand? Because she is essentially the brand as well. She
Right.
she makes that. So I have to follow more of the guidelines of how she does it. And really by doing that helps me stay within these phases by just kind of modeling after
Sure.
that.
And Kevin, what you just said there is you're an extension of that brand. You are part of that
Mm.
brand. And the biggest thing you want to make sure is that you have alignment within your brand. So they're hearing the same messaging. Because if you're involved in a team environment, everybody plays a part in that, and there's an extension there of the brand. Everybody represents that brand, building a brand
Right.
based on authority, based on influence, and it takes time for sure. And so when you think about lead generation, and you have three audiences you're serving, and you want to do a tremendous job with your customer base, your existing customers, your strategic partners, your centers of influence, people that are currently spending money with you. We want to knock the ball out of the park when it comes to that audience. And then another rung on the ladder is you've got your prospects. All the people out there, the people on your email list or on your newsletter list, if you send out a newsletter, they've not yet decided to spend money with you, but they're paying attention. Man, I heard Ronnie's name. I saw it on a billboard. I saw this flyer that, they're paying attention. But the bigger audience out there, and I'm going to go deeper into this in a month, are your suspects. That includes everyone who has no idea who you are, but they could benefit from your products or services. That's the ocean. I mean, it's vast, it's wide. Now, here's in my opinion, the mistake most marketing makes when you have a media mindset versus a marketing mindset. And I'm going to go deeper into this in a month. But most marketing, what do they try to do? They try to convert the suspect group into a customer or client. And they want to do that as quickly as possible. If I've never heard of Rick Bell and I'm a suspect, and all the marketing is directed towards moving Rick, who's a suspect, as an example, into a customer fairly quickly, I've got to hit Rick when he has a need for what I'm doing. So and I don't even know that. I would have no way of knowing that he's currently in the market for life insurance or Medicare's. I would have no idea. And so the probability of me converting that quickly from suspect to customer, I got to hit him at just the right time. But most marketing, that's the approach. And I'm going to share the differences between a marketing and a media mindset in a month, because it's rare that we can take a suspect that's never heard of us, never heard of our brand, but somehow we get in front of that person and we're going to convert that into a sale quickly. That's a tall task. And so I'm going to teach you and train you how to think from a media perspective versus marketing. Because we want to deal with customers and build referability and advocacy, and we want to deal with prospects, people that have heard of us, they're on our mailing list, they have some affinity, they've heard the name, but they have not yet decided on whether they're going to move forward and buy a product, but at least there's some recognition. Silas, you have any thoughts on that?
So a couple of thoughts I have. One is, I think practical next steps. We talk about Google a lot and the Google reviews. Practical next steps. If you're not at 10,000 FYCRs yet as a new agent, you got to get there so you can get into our local listings program, and Health Markets can start promoting you, and you can get your your Google webpage and everything set up. I looked at Laura Dennis, and I see she's on the call. I just did a quick Google search of her. She's got 218 5-star reviews. And then I looked at Ronnie Bell. You might be leading the pack, Ronnie. You've got 276 5-star reviews. And so, I mean, those are, when people come to you ladies, nothing against the gentleman. Maybe there's a gentleman that has more than that. But when somebody comes to you guys and they've already looked at you online, they come at this through a totally different lens. I'd also say to what you're speaking about now, Cliff, you know, our business is a timing business more than anything, right? Somebody doesn't need you until they have a trigger event that happens. And so what I teach and train my team is we have to constantly be marketing to the trigger events, because you may not need me right now, but your wife comes home with a pink slip tomorrow, or the company decides they're getting rid of their group insurance, or, you know, any number of events that happen. All of a sudden that trigger event hits you, and I want to be the guy you think about. And
Yeah.
so, you know, a lot of what we do is putting our information out there and putting it out there in mass, so that when that trigger event happens, hopefully, you know, they gravitate towards us. So those were just a few thoughts that I had based on what you'd said so far.
No, that's huge. That's huge. I'm going to open it up. We got a few minutes. I'm going to open it up, and before I do that, I'm going to share with you something I'm going to launch, and I'm trying to get health markets to endorse this or accept this as as something that I want to launch. If not, I'm going to make it available for all of you. But I'm working on creating a library of short snippets. I've sent a few of you a couple of these, but there's going to be graphics and there's going to be a backdrop of music. So think about, and I've just titled it Weekly Lift with Cliff. So every Monday morning, dropped into your email would be a short 90-second to 2 minute, never more than 2 minutes, but 90 seconds to 2 minutes on an idea or something to kickstart your week. So in your email, you come in on a Monday, you click on it, and there'll be a 90-second to 2 minute video, a short snippet. And again, I'm building the library now. And I'm hoping Dan Garrison will say, hey, this makes sense across the footprint of health markets. But if not, I'm going to make it available for Rick's team and Silas's team and all the sales leaders, all the agents. And so it's just kind of a boom. Let's get the week off to let's kickstart the week. And there'll be a variety of things. Some of you have seen a few of these, but I'm working on building that. So I'm going to open it up. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be January launch. Who has a question? We've got about 5 minutes left, 5-6 minutes. Who has a question or a thought on anything I've covered or anything else for that matter?
I like the talking about that going deep and not wide. I know that when we it's been 10 years in the storefront, so I know a lot of you are newer and not dealing with that, but our mantra was go deep, not wide. Like we wanted to be everywhere people are tired of seeing our face in the community. And then now, like with this crazy enrollment season, our mantra is leave no client behind, because everybody wanted to shop. So whatever that no client left behind meant Saturday, Sundays, evenings, working all the time. But I think that brand or the mantra or whatever you want to call it, that you really stick to in difficult times, that reminding you this is what we're setting out to do, is important, because that happens then every day, all day, and that is who you become.
I love that. I love that, what you just shared there on leave no client behind. How powerful is that? And that's a 24/7, 12-month message.
Yes,
I mean,
but it's a lot harder in open enrollment.
yeah,
You only
for
got
sure.
so much bandwidth. So to actually decide you're going to do that and actually do it is harder than the words.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's why you keep building your empire, your team and your sub agents and whatnot. Is Laura still on the call? I saw her face earlier, but I don't see her now. Silas, can you see? Is Laura still on the call? I'd love to call on her. Any thoughts or ideas or any insight she has?
I'm scanning the Brady Bunch, and
She may
I
have exited.
don't see her. She might have had to jump.
Okay, what about? Yeah, go ahead.
I want to piggyback on what Silas said on the trigger points, and something we're all getting ready to get past the 15th, and then we're gonna be working towards January 15th, and then we've got this big mythical thing called Medicare open enrollment, where we can't advertise. But I think to Silas's point, if you are advertising in general everywhere, when those people hit that trigger point, and I believe this year with the prescription drug changes on the Medicare side, there are going to be so many trigger points at pharmacies come January that if you're out there, they're going to be looking for you.
Yeah. Great point, Rick. Okay, got a couple minutes. Aaron Fields, any thoughts, any questions, any insight?
You're just picking on Joni's team this time around.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't have a whole lot just because I'm a sub agent under Joni and I don't
Okay.
necessarily advertise for myself. I just go with whatever comes in through Joni's advertising and referrals. I do get people who come and see me as new clients rather than Joni, and they do refer people to me. So I do get some referrals, but I've only been doing this for about a year, so it's really
Sure.
not a big base yet. Um, I do believe that, you know, like you were saying, the internet and Google and everything, everybody looks to reviews there. So it's like their first impression of you is more what they're seeing and hearing from everyone else than what they're getting
Yeah.
firsthand. So it definitely has made it um, a lot harder for people to get business in when everyone's scouring the internet for bad reviews. So it's one of those things where you want to make sure that you're doing absolutely everything you can in the best interest of the person, whether it's going to make you a sale or not, because that's
Right.
going to ultimately get you those good reviews and get you those referrals. Because even if you couldn't help that person and sell them a product, you did what was in their best interest, and they're going to see that and they're going to be like, hey, you need to go to this person because they didn't just try to sell me to make money. They're doing what's in your best interest. And that's pretty much what we do here, is more of a service-based model in that aspect than actually truly trying to sell,
Yeah.
because we want to make sure we're doing right by everyone.
Right.
So
And that's a great point, Aaron. And because there's probably quite a few sub agents in the meeting today. And so even if you're operating as a sub agent, there's still opportunities for you to garner referrals. And sometimes if we're not thinking about that, it's not even on our radar. Well, I'm a sub agent and my role is to support the agent, as an example, to do whatever that may be. But you do have client and customer interaction many times. And so one simple way to think about what could I do to maybe plant the seed of referrals, it's a simple question based on, so Aaron, if it's you and you're dealing with a customer, uh, based on the experience you've had in working with our team or working with us, who do you know, based on the experience you've had in working with us, who do you know that could potentially benefit from our services? And it plants that seed. So even if you're a sub agent, you put that on the radar and say, based on the experience because you're prideful in your experience and you want to give your customers a great experience. So based on the experience you've had in working with our team, who could benefit from the type of work we do? It's very simple. It's non-threatening and it's a very simple approach. I think we're bumping up, Silas, on time. If anybody has one final thought or question, Jeff Armstrong, you have anything to any wood to throw on the pile today?
I'm fairly new to health markets. What I do, joined 6 months ago, I want to say.
Okay.
And when I joined health markets, the Google reviews really wasn't on my radar. So I've really put a concerted effort into getting the 5-star reviews.
Awesome.
And here in this open enrollment period, because of those Google reviews, I've had five new clients show up. So that Google, that internet presence, along with Facebook, along with LinkedIn, uh, there's a lot to that. And like you're saying, Cliff, it helps create that early image of who they're going to be talking to. It so it does soften the environment quite a bit.
No doubt. No doubt. Anybody else have a thought or a question? If not, we'll wrap.
Cliff, I would just finalize things by saying, if you don't have a concerted game plan and effort around getting Google reviews, that would be a wonderful place to start. The clients who have chosen you or selected products from you here in the recent past, they're happy with the work you've done in most situations. And so it is the appropriate time to ask for a Google review and, you know, see what you can do to curate that. I don't think Ronnie, who has 276, or Laura, who has 218, that didn't happen by happenstance, and people didn't just stumble onto their Google review page and say, I'm going to give them a 5-star review. That was curated, that was intentional. There was a design behind building that out. And so I would just encourage you all, that is something we can do very proactively right now and even over the holidays, you know, to continue to build that online Google review presence.
Great closing. Great closing.
You got
topic.
anything else before we wrap things up?
No, I'm good. I'm good. Let's go have a great finish.
Yeah, have a great finish. Merry Christmas, everybody. We'll see you after the first of the year on January 8th. Make it a great finish. Thanks,
Continue
guys.
to appreciate you pouring into our teams.
Yep. We'll see you.
All right. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.